The Philadelphia Phillies swept the Colorado Rockies. They took 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. 5-1 since the last time you and me spoke here on the Cherry Pinstripes Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or on Spotify. Follow the social media accounts. The Phils, like I said, went in. They dominated the Rockies with the sweep. That was the home opening series, and then they took 2 out of 3 with the Dodgers. Before we get into those two series, and there's a couple topics we're going to talk about after we recap those series, the power rankings came out this morning, right before we fired up the pod. And coming in at number 1 is the Dodgers. And I was talking to producer Biondi before we went live here. I don't think I now don't expect the Dodgers to ever fall under 1. The Phillies are 2 on the list. So if at any point you're going to put that, I know it's super early, but if at any point you're going to knock the Dodgers off the 1 spot, they're currently second in their division and just dropped 2 out of 3 to the number 2 team on the list. And Zach Wheeler didn't pitch. No Wheels. Phils take 2 out of 3, no Wheeler. I'm just saying. If there's ever time to plug the Phillies at the top and see how the next week rolls, is right now. It's literally right now. So I'm not looking at the power rankings for the rest of the year. They lost me in April. Gone. I'm out. Back to the Rockies series. That blew my mind right before we went live. Blew my mind. That's crazy. Rockies series. So the opening home series for the Phils. Game 1, they win it 6-1. They win the second game 5-1, and they win the third game 3-1. So they give up a total of 3 runs on the series. My boy Joe Ross getting the win in game 1. Kyle Schwarber went deep. This was the Edmundo Sosa 6-man game. Post-game, he compared himself to the 6th man of an NBA player. I love that about him. There was a point late in the Rockies series where the fans were a little upset that we didn't get him, so they wanted Bryson Stott to have one more day off. Keep Sosa out there. Let Sosa play that role. Let him play that role. You know, if you put him in the lineup every single day just because he's hot, and then he gets cold, you put him on the bench, that's not the same role. Let him stay hot in his role. Red hot to start the series. Edmundo Sosa, they win it 6-1. Then game 2 in that series, this was a Wheeler gem at Citizens Bank Park. The Rockies really never stood a chance. Phillies scored 2 runs in the 4th. And up until this point, the Phillies still had never scored a run in the first 3 innings of a ball game. They scored 2 in the 4th inning here, and then they go into the 3rd game of the series where they don't score until the 5th inning of this ball game. So it wasn't until game 1 of the Dodgers series where the Phillies actually scored first trip through the lineup. But they win that 3rd game of the series 3-1. This was the Taijuan Walker game. Our guy Taijuan Walker went out there and pitched a shutout. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, no runs, 4 strikeouts. Kerkering, Jordan Romano, and then Jose Alvarado came out of the bullpen, and the Phillies closed it out 3-1. Jose Alvarado, quick note, looks disgusting. He did something with his off-speed in spring training, different trajectory, it's curving different, but he's locating the heavy stuff, which is the biggest thing when it comes to Jose Alvarado. So quick 3-game sweep of the Rockies at home to start the week, and then the Dodgers roll into town on the weekend, and what could potentially be a future NLCS matchup. 2 of the best teams in all of baseball. The Dodgers came in undefeated, and the Phillies win the first game of the series 3-2. The Dodgers tried to come storming back late. They score 2 in the 9th off of Jordan Romano, but the Phillies end up closing the door. JT Realmuto throws out a base runner trying to steal to end that ball game. It went to a review, but Jesus Luzardo was the story of this one. Another solid outing for him. He goes 7 innings, just 4 base runners, no runs, 8 strikeouts. He had the double-digit strikeouts in his debut. He's looked every bit what I expected him to look like when the Phillies made that move, and may be the second-best pitcher on this team. The Phillies got to Yamamoto in the 1st inning of this ball game, but then they didn't score again until the 7th. So they did break that streak of not scoring first trip through the lineup, but then they didn't score again until the 7th. Then you go into the 2nd game of this series. Aaron Nola, only a 3-1 loss. And Nola had one of those Nola games where he goes 6, he gives up 3. On paper, it's a quality start, not the worst day at the office, but all 3 runs came on the long ball, and they were loud home runs. And that's the thing with Aaron Nola. He'll go 7 and give up 2, but that 2-run homer goes 465 feet. And, it was only a 1-0 game at the time, so it's like an moment. And can we just please give this guy some run support? That's what I really want. Aaron Nola is who he is. He is who he is. He's going to give up the long ball. Every single run he's given up this season has come to the long ball. He's yet to yield a run on a ball in play yet this season. He's always had a little bit of trouble with runners on base. He has the very slow leg kick out of the stretch. He's tried to work in the quicker step, but Aaron Nola's going to give up the long ball. He's going to have an inning every game where he gives up one. You just got to hope it's not 3 or 4. Most days it's not, and that's why his stats are what they are at the end of the season. Games like this just sting a little bit because realistically, if the Phillies put a couple runs on the board early, this on paper, in hindsight, probably is a really good start. But those loud homers just doing Aaron Nola in, and the fans were getting on him. Game 3, though, things turn a little bit. The Phillies just score that 1 run for Nola, but then they turn around and score 8 to close out this series. They win the series. Orion Kerkering gets the win out of the pen. Jose Alvarado with his second save. This was a Christopher Sanchez start where if you take Teoscar Hernandez out of the lineup, he looked tremendous. Teoscar Hernandez, though, 2 home runs and a double off Christopher Sanchez. Otherwise, Christopher Sanchez goes 5 2/3, 9 strikeouts, but all 4 runs that he gave up came at the hands of Teoscar Hernandez, who just kept scratching and clawing for this Dodgers team. And this was a really fun game to watch. Sundays are my day to hang around the house and watch the game with the boys. And this was one of Roman's first, oh my gosh, how is this going to end games? It was fun watching the kids experience this because the teeter-totter was going in this game. Once the Dodgers came all the way back and tied it, then the Phillies went up, and you're always sweating in the 8th, 9th inning when the Dodgers are hitting, when you got Ohtani and Mookie, and the graphic keeps coming up on the screen telling you how close Ohtani is to hitting. You get nervous. I can't wait to play this team in a playoff scenario. I hope we end up seeing it. There's other teams in the league we got to worry about, but a Phillies-Dodgers NLCS would just be electric, and I thought that was a really fun tone-setter game to end the series, winning it 8-7, and even though Jordan Romano came out of the pen in the 7th, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Jordan Romano, a big highlight for the Phillies over the weekend. Things got sketchy. They pull out the win. This team can win a million different ways, even when they give up 7. It's a good news for the Phillies. They go into the new week as the 2nd-ranked team in Major League Baseball, but they are leading the NL East. But Jordan Romano, let's just talk about Jordan Romano. Pronounced Romano, by the way, confirmed by Tom McCarthy. If Tom McCarthy said it, Bible. Velo's down for Jordan. That's the biggest note. And they had some interviews post-game after the series ended. He doesn't really seem to know what it is. In his own words, he needs to get in the lab and figure out if it's a mechanical issue. It's an issue. It's an issue, okay? But I will say, I don't think he should have pitched in that 3rd game of the series. It was baseball, if you're looking at that game, if you were watching that game every inning the way that I was, the feel of that game, the Dodgers were going to keep scoring runs. They were all over everyone. They were locked in. They had already seen Jordan really well in the 1st game of this series. I genuinely thought he was going to get the day off. It was a bad time to bring him in there in the 7th. I know Topper said after the game he was trying to save Orion Kerkering for the 8th, but that felt like a Kerkering inning. That felt like more of an 8th inning than a 7th inning, just the way the Dodgers had been putting the at-bats together in the 5th and the 6th in that one. Had a bad feeling when Jordan came out. Kind of felt bad for him when things immediately went south because it just felt so obvious. He's obviously got to work on some things, but let's maybe not give him high leverage innings against the Los Angeles Dodgers right now while he's trying to figure it out. You know, we had arms going. We got the day off today. You know, we could have figured it out, I think, without Jordan Romano, but we won the ball game. That's all that matters. Jordan, though, when this guy's right, and I know Phillies fans haven't seen it, and it might not be there. This guy might end up getting DFA'd in a couple of weeks. He could just end up being Craig Kimbrell 2.0 for us, and he's out the door in a year. That's very possible. But for the Phillies fans that haven't seen it, if he can get that fastball up 2 or 3 miles per hour, if he can get those ticks back, and they were there at times in spring training, this is a good arm to have in the pen, especially right now on this team that doesn't need a closer per se. I do think they're going to add bullpen at the deadline. If a dominant closer comes about, maybe they're in that mix. I don't think they'll move those type of pieces, though. But with Strahm and the way Alvarado looks and Orion Kerkering looks prime for big high-leverage innings, they don't need the Toronto Blue Jays Jordan Romano. They just need a guy who's going to figure it out most of the time. Get us to the 8th, you know? That's what we need. The other two guys I wanted to talk about from the pitching staff, Aaron Nola and Taijuan Walker, who had polar opposite starts. And you would think the other guy, if I showed you their stat lines and said, put the person's face on the right stat line, you'd probably do the opposite. Taijuan Walker goes shutty. Aaron Nola gave up a couple of homers. Taijuan Walker, tip my hat to him. I rarely say anything nice about him. I feel bad. The guy's just getting paid. Once you get post-arb and you get paid, things just get put under a magnifying glass. And it hasn't really worked out here. But if he can put a couple starts together like this, it's just, keep giving him the ball. Just keep giving him the ball. You never know. Andrew Painter's about to start throwing this week on the mound in live games. That's a possibility down the road. It's not like Taijuan Walker's no longer in a position, I'll say it this way. After we signed him, what could he do for this team? Might see him on the mound in playoff games. No. There's no longer that expectation for me. If this guy can just come in from time to time and give us a game, or even just be solid, go 5, give up 3. That's fine. Keep us in the game. My expectations are different. So games like this feel great, even though it's early in the season. And it's huge considering a guy like Aaron Nola is struggling out of the gate. Aaron Nola, like I said earlier, every run this season has been given up on the long ball. It is what it is. My buddy Hunter Brody was talking about this on WIP last week. He is the most black and white. He is who he is. We've seen it for 4 years in a row now. I think another one, we got to change the expectations. I know the 2019 season happened. This is an Aaron Nola who has a 10-WAR season under his belt, second in the Cy Young race in 2019. He spits out 200-inning seasons. He spits out 200 strikeout seasons, but he's going to give up the long ball. He just is. This is an era of throwers. This is a generation of guys throwing 97 and 99. Aaron's throwing 93, 94. That too seems nasty, but when it leaks, it's batting practice in this generation of baseball. It's going to get got, and from time to time, he's going to miss. All I care about is that Aaron Nola steps up and plays his best baseball in the biggest games, and he has done that for this franchise his whole career. So until he has a huge blow up in a really bad spot, Aaron Nola is Aaron Nola. But I really would like, as the season goes on, maybe we just change the perspective on Nola a little bit. We have an ace now. We don't need that base covered like we did in 2018, 2019. We might have it covered 2 or 3 times over with Luzardo and Christian Walker. This is the best rotation in baseball. The only one that rivals it is Seattle. I'll give them their credit. But right now, best rotation in baseball, and I'm really excited to see them roll into a series with the Atlanta Braves, which starts tomorrow. We got the off day right now, but the 1-8 Atlanta Braves to start the season. What is going on down there in Georgia? The suburbs of Georgia with Truist Park. What is going on? The first game of the series, you're going to see the 2024 Cy Young Showdown. Zach Wheeler versus Chris Sale. Game 2, we're going to get Taijuan Walker coming off his big start against Grant Holmes. And then Jesus Luzardo against Spencer Schwellenbach in Game 3. 2 sneaky Cy Young. Just throw $5 on those two. You might. I'm just saying Schwellenbach specific. I know a little bias with Luzardo. He'll have a blow-up game here or there. Schwellenbach, that guy's gross. Don't be, if you have never heard the name Schwellenbach, if you're just someone who just all in on the Phillies, you don't watch that much else around baseball, and you're listening, when Schwelly's out there throwing missiles in the third game of this series, I promise the Phillies don't suck. I promise. This guy's legit, and you're going to see him a couple of times this year. Chris Sale kind of got lit up his first game of the season. He's got a 5.4 ERA. He's matching up with Wheeler in this first one. I just don't lose. Just don't get. I need to win this series. We can't drop a series to the 1-8 Braves right now. I've been talking way too much trash on Twitter to start the season. I kind of forgot they were right around the corner. I forgot they were right around the corner. And, of course, we're getting Chris Sale to start the series. But I'm looking forward to it. Wheels, Ty, Jesus Luzardo, and a couple notes for the minor leagues as well. Weston Wilson getting some at-bats this week. Andrew Painter will be throwing this week. They're still up in the air on Ranger Suarez, but it seems like they're planning on getting him at least a simulated game by Thursday. So Ranger Suarez is also going to be in the mix. And this Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs team in particular, I just want to say, this is maybe the best Iron Pigs team ever. Off to a 7-2 start this season. This is the deepest that this roster has ever been and the most confident I've ever been that we can really go down there and pluck a guy up if we need to. I mean, Justin Crawford in his first season in AAA. We've talked about him a lot on the show over the last year. He looks great down there, looked great in spring training. Aiden Miller's hitting the ball well in AA. I think he's going to be on this team at some point later in the season. There's pitching depth that you can reach down into here with this team. Go to a ball. Go check out the Iron Pigs. If you've never been to Coca-Cola Ballpark up in Lehigh, go check them out. This is definitely the season and the team to do it. There's a bunch of guys on that roster right now that want to make the major league club. Mick Abel last week had his best start in the minor leagues in the last 2 years, not being dramatic. Pitched 6-inning shutout, looked great. I'll never count a kid out. You know, I know he's been in the minor leagues for a long time. He's slid down the rankings, but that's a 6'5" kid that was born in 2001. You can't tell me there's not time to, let him throw down there. You never know. Who else did I want to talk about on this team as well? There was one other guy. Oh, Gabriel Rincones Jr., the kid that exploded in spring training, hit a 450-foot homer over the weekend down there. The power is legit. That's another guy to take an eye on. I think it depends on what the situation is, but at some point this season, somebody's going to get banged up. You're not going to get 162 from all of your outfielders. Depending on the length of the first outfield injury that pops up, you're either going to see a Gabriel Rincones on a short stint, or you might see Justin Crawford get a week or two, depending on who's hot, what the situation is. But eventually, you're going to have to dip down in the minor leagues. Every team has to. Keep an eye on Gabe. Batting 251 right now with an 800 OPS. He just hit his first home run. 850 OPS. Misread that. He's got 9 hits, a homer, 5 RBIs on the season, coming off a good spring. This Phillies team, the bullpen is a little questionable, but overall, I think this is the most balanced and deepest Phillies team that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. I do think they're a tick better than last year. Max Kepler adds much-needed depth to the outfield. Johan Rojas is no longer being leaned into as like a, come on, kid, get it together, kid. He's the utility outfielder now. He's getting subbed in as a defensive replacement late in games. We've seen him get one or two starts this season. He's dropping down bunts, moving base runners over. That's his role. Forcing him into starting every day or platooning with Marsh, I don't think he's ready for that. But this is his role, and Kepler opened that up. The rotation looks great. Lizardo looks like a great add. I'm pumped, man. And this minor league team, this minor league system, and this AAA team look great. The Phils are off to a hot start. My dog of the week, I can't believe I'm doing it, but right out of the gate, we got a repeat dog of the week. Jesus Luzardo, twice. If it wasn't for Zach Wheeler, I'd be saying this man is going to win the Cy Young. Put me in Cy Young Zeus, by the way. A lot of discussion amongst Phillies fans what this dude's nickname should be. He has one already. It's Zeus. He's told you himself. So that's all I got for you today, man. The Phils are hot. The Iron Pigs are hot. Everyone looks good except Aaron Nola and Jordan Romano. But I still got faith that those two can put it together. All I'm saying is I'm signing off. Shohei Ohtani has a 699 OPS against the Phillies. It is the worst against any team in Major League Baseball. Edmundo Sosa's the GOAT. Subscribe to the pod, and we'll see you in the next one.